Welcome to Top of the Line. This is the podcast version of our YouTube show. New episodes every Monday and Friday where we talk about audio and hi-fi related themes.
If you have any requests for a future episode, send us an email, totl@abyssheadphones.com.
So we're back with more questions off the internet. And if you too want to be cool and have us answer your questions off the internet, you could email them to us at totl@abyssheadphones.com. Maybe we'll answer them. So this one from PlantsGuy404.
Woo-hoo.
Hey Abyss team, I live in a pretty hot region and have to cool my house 24/7. Will hi-fi equipment raise my power bill? Will some affect it more than others? Thanks. Love your videos. Yeah, this is actually a fair question. Because oddly enough, the efficiency and power consumption of amplifiers and various hi-fi products, it varies greatly in this particular trade.
How about big screen TVs? They get kind of toasty, don't they?
Depends on the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. But some things don't take a lot of power. Other things take quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you look at your portable devices powered by a battery. They kind of have to be fairly efficient and fairly low power. Otherwise, the battery would be dead immediately. But your desktop stuff that plugs into the wall, much less of a concern. And some of these things, especially tube amps, a lot of times they take 100, 200 watts, maybe even more in some cases.
Yeah, and it's something to consider because when you look at the power draw, that's continuous though.
Yeah.
You can't really look at a
If
max.
you leave it on 24/7, yeah.
But most of that power is dissipated as heat, so it's going to
Pretty much all of
It's
it.
going to go in the room.
Especially if it's a small room,
Yeah.
you'll notice.
That's true. With the door closed.
Door closed.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true. Additively, all these things, additively in a home, we don't think about it because, a lot of parts of the country, you open a window or.
Depends on where you live.
Well, air
You live in a cold climate where you're heating most of the year. It doesn't really matter if your amp takes 50 watts and heats
Yeah.
your space up a little bit.
You got plenty of
Not a
cold
big
air
deal,
leaking
right?
into the home.
Yeah, it'll help the heating system.
Yeah.
Right, helps you out. So
Yeah.
for the most part, pretty much every modern thing you buy, if it takes power, almost 100% of that power ends up as heat inside your house.
Yeah.
So if something takes 100 watts, it pretty much is a 100-watt heater. And they're all just the same efficiency at heating in that regard. Except for maybe like light bulbs that are outside your house or something that are emitting radio
Or
waves that
motors.
leave your house.
There are motors that are more doing some work with the power, but that's not quite.
Well,
100%.
it all gets converted to heat eventually.
I guess at some point it goes
As long as the
somewhere.
heat doesn't leave the house, as long as the work isn't getting
right.
pumped out of the house, it's
Yeah.
getting converted into heat.
Well,
in
with
your
LED
house.
lighting and stuff, that helped an awful lot. They still get a little warm, but nothing like in cans used
Yeah,
to be.
10 times
Well,
less
yeah.
power.
Yeah.
Literally less than
Right.
that.
Yeah, I mean, you could keep a chicken coop warm with one 100-watt bulb back in the day.
Well, it's practically 100 watts
It's
of
a
heat.
100-watt
right?
heater.
Yeah.
And now
Or-
it's like 7.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's a little bit better now.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. People used to use light bulbs as heaters. So it doesn't really work so much anymore.
But yeah, with most of the stuff for
hi-fi
headphones,
equipment.
it's lower power devices.
Yeah, that pretty much sorts that.
So while they run a little warm, it probably isn't going to be a big deal. And then, of course, if you're running into heat issues like that, you can always turn it off when you're not using it. It's a little issue because you usually want your gear warm to sound better. So you got to preheat it.
Yeah.
But,
If you're driving things like big monoblock amps for a 2-channel system,
oh, yeah.
those could be significant.
Yeah.
Especially if they're Class A.
Yeah.
Some of these amps could be a couple hundred watts,
Yeah.
just doing nothing,
I
sitting
have
there on.
500-watt monos at home, and when I leave them on, and I only leave them on in the winter in my dedicated room, but it'll raise the temperature in the room about 5-6 degrees probably
Yeah.
over not having them on. And you can actually notice the electric bill higher at the end of the month if you leave them on for a month.
Yeah.
It's probably $20-$30 or more a month
Yeah, well,
to leave them on.
24 hours a day adds up.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, so they're not hot, but still they're big blocks of aluminum that are,
Warm.
100 degrees, 105 degrees, and they're just constantly radiating heat.
Well, I've heard a few people now at shows in particular that they specifically they live in like deserts essentially, and they specifically have summertime amps and wintertime amps.
Oh, right.
So they're like, they might use tubes in the winter, and then I switch over to something more efficient in the summer. Because I guess if like all you have is like a one window AC unit or something, then you don't want to tax it.
Yeah. But if you're running central air, to me, just make sure that thing's up to date. Get a more modern one. You could pump as much cool air as you want to compensate for your electronics.
Yeah,
right?
oddly enough, most people are scared about making heat in the summer. because their system either can't handle it or they have the perception that it's going to have very high costs to cool.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it's not as much as people would expect, especially when you're talking about amplifiers for headphones. Most of the amps are going to be less than 50 watts. And you could do the math, but for the most part, you're looking at in the range of 10 cents a day if you leave it on, depends on where you live.
Yeah, and that if it's that hot out, chances are the ambient temperature of the walls of your home are way
Right.
warming the house more than
Well, yeah.
in the roof structure and so on.
Windows.
Yeah, windows letting the sun in. Yeah, you got way more problems than a small headphone amp's going to do.
Well, and if you have a tube amp, turn it off.
Yeah, right.
Don't just
That's
leave it
kind of
on.
a given anyway.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah, you may sweat a little bit while you're listening, but
Yeah.
you don't want to leave tube amps on anyway. So
Yeah, it's the best practice to not leave them on. And if you're concerned about these things, or if you do have very high electric costs, best bet is to get a power meter, see how much your actual appliance takes.
yeah, you could do that.
There's a bunch of those things, like Kilowatt is a popular one here in the US. There's a whole bunch of different brands and models for different plugs and voltages overseas. And it's really kind of necessary to measure your actual device because it varies wildly. Some things take very little power.
Could you get one of
Others
those
take
like
a lot.
infrared guns and just point it at things?
You could
and
do that, yeah.
Measure how warm everything. Of course, you could just touch it with your
Well,
hands and
yeah.
tell.
But-
Yeah.
But that'll give you like walking around a room with it. You could just point it right. It gives you like an indication like where
It
the
gives
hotter
you a
things
vague
are in the
idea,
room.
but you could also do it by feel. The trouble is with those kinds of things, it's dependent on the surface.
Yeah.
The emissivity of the surface is going to vary the actual readout.
I guess I'm picturing ones that have like they actually have a screen on it, so you could point it at a wall and it shows the hot
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah,
on
an
the wall
IR
window.
camera, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are kind of cool. How much those things cost?
You get them for $150 or so now.
Yeah. Those are kind of neat.
Smartphone
Not
models.
just like a simple thermometer because that's crude.
Well, yeah.
But to be able to throw it and look at it. I saw like guys that are doing that when they're trying to actually improve homes
Yeah.
Yeah.
efficiency and
Oh,
insulation.
you've never done that?
I don't have one.
Oh.
No, that would be pretty cool though to be able to have one.
It's
of those.
pretty cool.
So I was wondering how much they were. Maybe we should have one here at the shop.
Why one?
We could
What?
measure it. We could watch the temperature of our. We could walk around and do. DMS can walk around and video everything that's hot in here,
Oh, hot thing.
or cold, or somewhere in between. We'll have to get one of those.
I've used one in my room to check it out, and you could see like all the 2x4s and everything.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
That's pretty cool. You own one?
Eric has one.
So
It's not that exciting unless it's
Yeah.
really hot outside.
Yeah, well, or
right.
really cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
know.
I see what you mean. Everything's
You need
kind
a
of
big delta.
the same
Yeah.
level.
Pretty much.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, well, you get the thermal bridging from the 2x4s, so they're different heat.
We could open a refrigerator.
Sure.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Everything
we
will
could
go
do
blue.
I guess.
So you'll see the coolness rolling out.
Turn
you
the oven
can.
on.
It is actually pretty cool. You see your footsteps.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
You could just walk at a normal pace across a floor,
Yeah.
and if you feel it with your hand, you can't feel the temperature gradient from where you
Right,
walked,
right.
but you could very clearly see the bright red spot from where your
Where you
foot
just
was,
stepped.
where you just stepped, and it's visible for a minute or two sometimes even. And with more sensitive equipment, you could see it for a long time.
Yeah,
It's
they make
surprising
really nice
how
ones.
sensitive you could get this stuff.
Yeah. So that's
But to answer the question,
yeah, right.
we'll round this one up. Yes, it does depend on the gear, and it will raise your power bill a little bit if you leave it on 24/7. But for the most part, headphone stuff really doesn't take a lot of power. Relative to a household, if you're not monitoring these things super closely, if you're not hyper efficient, you're probably not going to notice it.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, leaving it on 24/7 is a little wasteful anyways, unless you use it so much that it doesn't matter. But if you use it an hour a day, just turn it off.
Yeah. And of course, those who have cooler seasons other than summer, it's actually helpful to have it.
Yeah, it's not an issue
a
then.
little
Yeah.
warm there.
So
you know?
really low power space heater.
Yeah. Tuck it in the
Right.
corner of the room where it's always cooler.
Mm.
How
Yeah, you
would
could do that,
Even
yeah.
out the room.
Right. And
Plan ahead.
if you're in an
Where should I
area
put
where you
this heat
have,
source?
if you're in an area where you use electric heat anyways,
yeah.
then your hi-fi system is just as efficient as a space heater.
Yeah. Right.
Same
And
cost to operate.
It produces audio.
Yeah.
Produces
right.
audio, so it's better. Yeah, you might
way
as well
better.
use it.
Yeah, because space heaters don't
They don't
do much.
produce a lot of
They
audio.
don't.
No, I've never heard one sound good.
No.
No.
On that note, that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I guess we'll wrap that one
answered
up.
the question. Let's wrap this one up and back to work, I guess, because we have a lot of headphones. To ship out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for watching, everyone. And remember, we need questions. We always need questions to answer. If you got any, TOTL at abizheadphones.com. Take care. We should.
A gnome enthusiast to send gnomes in?
We need a name for this gnome.
What about
Harry
this
the
one?
gnome?
This one doesn't have a name either.
Well, actually, none of them have names. The
That's
only problem-
Barry. That one's Harry.
Yeah.
Barry and Harry. There's no
Yeah.
third gnome.
Wait, I thought there was 2 of those.
I thought you had two before.
Maybe we should have someone name them in the comments.
We'll put that at the end of the video for our dedicated viewers.
If you're still
If you're
here,
still looking, you
Yeah.
want more content, spend
Yeah.
the next 20 minutes thinking of a name for a gnome.
yeah.